3:17 a.m. Michael stirred in his bed. Could have sworn he heard a knock at the front door, but when he listened harder, it was silent. It had been 3 nights in a row that he was awoken by what sounded like someone knocking on his door at exactly 3:17 a.m. Lived alone in an isolated house far from his family and friends. Said who could be paying him a visit at this ungodly hour? He got out of bed to check if the door was locked. It was. He went back to bed, but sleep wouldn't come. His mind kept replaying the sound of the knock over and over again. He was beginning to feel scared, and he remembered something. He had a security camera system installed outside his house. Maybe he could finally get some answers tonight. He looked at the time on his phone. 2:58 a.m. Soon it would happen again, the dreaded 3:17 a.m. knock. But first, the mystery of the strange visitor remained unsolved. As the minutes passed, Michael's fear turned into anxiety, which made it difficult to focus on anything else except for the seconds. Ticking by until 3:17 a.m. when there was another loud knock at the door. Michael pressed play on the recording, but nothing showed up on the monitor. Then he checked the live view, and his heart skipped a beat. There was a hooded figure standing motionless right outside his front door. He had been standing there for 15 minutes. But how is that possible? Michael thought. Hadn't he locked the door? The man on the screen was wearing all black, a hoodie, gloves, and a face mask. He was just standing there looking straight at the door, his body still as a statue. The weird thing about it all was that there was no pathway or driveway leading up to the front door. Whoever this guy was, he must have walked over the grass, and Michael shuddered at the thought. How could someone get so close without making a sound? What was he doing all this time? Was he planning to break in while Michael was sleeping? The recording didn't help answer any questions. All it did was make things worse. Michael watched in suspense as the man suddenly raised his right hand and knocked on the door, then lowered it back to his side. Michael felt a chill down his spine. The man wasn't just standing there all this time. He was waiting. Waiting for something. But what? And why didn't he ring the doorbell or try to open the door handle? He was just staring at it with his hand resting lightly on it, as if waiting for someone inside the house to respond to his presence. Michael continued watching, hoping to catch a glimpse of the man's face. That's when he noticed the left sleeve of the man's hoodie was torn, revealing a tattoo on his left arm. It looked like a spider crawling up a tree. Just then, a police siren wailed in the distance. The man flinched as if startled and ran off down the road without even looking back, finally disappearing from view. Michael sighed with relief, but it quickly evaporated when he noticed the time on the clock. 3:17 a.m. The man had left at exactly the same time as the other 2 visitors. But why? What was he doing here? And who was he? Was he the reason Michael kept hearing the knocks? He decided to go through the footage again, this time frame by frame, hoping to spot something he missed before. There was something about the man's posture that bothered him. It almost looked as though he was carrying a large backpack. But why would anyone need to do that while sneaking around in the middle of the night? And what was the meaning behind the knocks? Was this guy trying to contact him? But why? Michael couldn't help but wonder if the man had followed him home from work. That's why he had a backpack. He worked in sales, so sometimes he had to drive long distances to meet clients. But that still didn't explain why the man would stand outside his house for hours at 3:17 a.m. Michael thought back to when he first moved in. There were several houses in his neighborhood that had been empty for years. It's mostly because they were on the outskirts of town and not many people wanted to live there. So when he found out that one of them was for sale, he jumped at the chance. It was a huge house with a big garden, perfect for raising a family. But he never mentioned this to anyone, not even the real estate agent. So how did this man know he lived there? Just then, Michael spotted something unusual in the bushes next to the path. It was a pair of muddy footprints. They had clearly been left by someone wearing steel-toe boots. But why would anyone need to wear those while trespassing? How come Michael had missed them during the day? He went back to the footage and rewound it. He could see the man leaving the exact same footprints in the soft earth. Michael wondered if the man had tried to break in before. Had he made the footprints while walking around the house to find an entrance? This time, Michael focused on the man's face. He took a screenshot of the closest shot and zoomed in. Underneath the hood, Michael could see a pair of beady eyes staring directly at the door. There was a faint outline of a mustache above his thin lips. But it was the man's receding hairline that caught his attention. It was identical to the man who had visited him in his nightmares, the man who kept whispering secrets in his ear. In his dreams, Michael always woke up feeling unsettled, as if something important was being kept from him. It was only after having these dreams that he started hearing the knocks at 3:17 a.m. Coincidence? He thought. Every night before the knock, he would dream of the same hooded man whispering the same nonsense words. But now, he knew the truth. This wasn't a coincidence. This was no ordinary man. Who was this mysterious visitor? Why did he keep coming back at 3:17 a.m.? Michael thought about calling the police, but he knew they wouldn't believe him. They would probably just think he was crazy. Michael shook his head. He had to solve this himself. He wasn't going to let some creepy stalker ruin his life. The next few days were agonizing for Michael. He kept checking the security footage every hour, but the man never came back. And then the night of the full moon arrived. Michael's anxiety returned. He was certain the man would show up again tonight. He knew it. As soon as the clock struck 3:17 a.m., he rushed to the monitor, but there was nothing there. Had he been wrong all this time? Was the man really just a figment of his imagination? But then he noticed something odd. A security light outside flickered. He wasn't sure if it was working properly, and the power went out completely. Suddenly the door creaked open. Michael screamed and stumbled backward. Then he noticed a dark figure standing in the doorway. It was the man. Without hesitation, he stepped inside and approached Michael. The man was tall and muscular. He towered over Michael. "Who are you?" Michael asked, his voice trembling. "Why have you been visiting me?" The man didn't answer. He just stared at him with a menacing grin. Then he reached into his hoodie and pulled out a shiny object. Michael's eyes widened in horror. It was a knife. The man lunged forward, and that's when Michael realized what all of this meant. These weren't just random acts of violence. The man had been targeting him. He'd been chosen for a reason. But what was that reason? And why was he still alive? The man leaned closer and whispered, "You're the chosen one," before vanishing into thin air, leaving Michael alone in the darkness with his unanswered questions. Now watch. Scary Story. Top 10 terrifying clown encounters in the woods. Or check out most frightening haunted houses in America.